Hello and welcome back to the Fearlessly Different podcast, the podcast focused on encouraging and equipping a next generation of fearless students to pursue a different education. My name is Nadine Loffer. I'm a homeschool graduate and host of this podcast. Thank you so much for being with us today. On this episode, number 52, we're here with Miss Bethany Baldwin, who is the creator and owner of Music, Art, and Drama, or MAD Society, which is a club designed for homeschoolers to participate in and produce their own theater productions. I know that when it comes to homeschooling, theater is one of the things that we seemingly miss out on the most. It is one of the hardest things for a homeschool community to build because it requires so many things and it can be very overwhelming just looking at it from a distance. So the amazing blessing of the MAD Society curriculum is that Ms. Baldwin has provided us with a wonderful resource to be able to not only just host a theater group, but also have plays and skits to do along during the semester. So during this episode, we're going to talk through Ms. Baldwin's own journey and the things that led her to create MAD Society and the impact it has had, and how homeschool families can really use this curriculum to benefit their communities in a very powerful way. So without further ado, let's dive into this episode. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to talk with Ms. Baldwin today, and we first connected, I think, at Great Homeschool Conventions back in April. And then we've been kind of sending emails for a few months, and it actually led to my parents and my homeschool community starting their own theater group, which was really, really fun to watch them enjoy it. But I've been excited to talk with you for many reasons, but one of them is I feel like in the homeschooling community, there's definitely a lack of arts, specifically theater. I think that people get overwhelmed by the just magnitude of putting on a play and just figuring everything out and getting enough people. So it kind of gets pushed to the bottom of the list of things to do, but it can be such a fun thing. I know at least in my community, it brought so much joy, not only to the kids that were part of it and the parents that were part of it, but the people who got to watch it. It brought the whole community together. So I think that's a missed opportunity. So when I first heard about your curriculum, I got so excited. And also to hear your story as a homeschool mom yourself. So I thought we'd start there. At like what first drew you to homeschooling and like what's the story behind that?
My first exposure to homeschooling would have been I had a really close friend growing up that was homeschooled. Homeschooling was very different when I was little. And then the only cousin that I see regularly, he was also homeschooled. So I don't remember. I knew I always wanted to be a mom, but I don't think I ever thought about my kids' education at that point. But I didn't have a bad experience. And so when my oldest was a kindergartner, we enrolled her in private school. And I just remember every day I dropped her off and it was like I was leaving part of me. And I just missed her all day long. I just thought about her and cried and cried and cried. And we kept her in for the whole year. But then after that, it was definitely obvious that we were supposed to homeschool. So we have 5 kids now, and 2 are adopted, and my motto is each kid, each year. So we've done a little bit of private school, some public school, College Credit Plus, homeschooling. We've done co-ops. We've done sort of unschooling gap years. We've done almost everything. But so that's how I started. Because I missed my baby girl.
Someone in my community has almost the exact same story, and homeschooling has been, and they've done a bunch of different things too, but it's been such a blessing in their life. And I love that. I think what happens whenever we start thinking about the opportunities we have to homeschool, it's like, okay, well, it's not just that we can homeschool, we can try different things. Like it's not a one size fit all for every single person, which is what most of, I think, culture has seemingly taught us, or that was something that I just assumed until I realized, oh wait, no, we have so many cool things we can do with education. So I love that you're like trying a bunch of different everything. And my mom had the same motto essentially. She reevaluate at the end of every year, and we change it up, try different things. So it keeps it interesting and it keeps it personalized, I feel like, for every student.
Yeah, it does, especially as you guys get older and you recognize that if you have if you guys have a goal and we have goals for you and the Lord has goals for you, how do you get to that point? And we always would kind of work backwards and say, okay, this is where
Yeah.
this kid wants to end up, and just ask people and try to make a path to get there. And so sometimes that did involve public school orchestra, or like joining a co-op I never thought I would join, or things
Yeah.
like that. So, yep, each kid each year.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then, so tell us a bit about how you first got started in the world of theater and homeschooling. Because you know what? I want to mention this story real fast because I feel like every single mom in my community, or at least this is how I feel like our homeschooling community works, is when all these parents come together to to do something so different and to really kind of create their own education for their children, which is awesome. I feel like the strengths of every parent kind of come out and then
Mhm.
they work together, and it's just really cool to see that happen. And I feel like maybe your story is a little similar with your love of theater and art kind of led to your curriculum.
It did, and yes, it does bring out unique traits in people, especially when you watch some of the parents challenge themselves,
Yeah.
to teach something that they just see there's a need for it and
Hmm.
that their kid wants that, and so it's a huge opportunity for parents to grow, and, so yes. But I was not in theater growing up. I went to Columbus College of Art and Design, and so my goal was art, and that was always very obvious. I was drawing Disney characters as
Mm.
soon as I knew they existed. And so I didn't do theater. I did do like the VBS skits at church.
Yeah.
That was about the extent. My senior year of high school, I did the stage production for theater, but it was probably just to pad my college resume or application. um, theater, what I didn't really understand theater. Um, but when my kids had reached sort of the end of middle school, I realized what I did see is a gap in, like, the arts, obviously, but the artistic children, that if they were
Mm.
not joining a sports team or if they didn't join a co-op that met regularly, my kids in particular, they were kind of getting lost in, like, who is my group? Where's my community? And, my oldest is, a musician, and, I was like, there something has to pull all the extra kids together.
Hmm.
And so I started a group called Teen Night, which was basically like a youth group, but without, like, any church. Like, we just had fun. But I made it clear that, like, they needed to just be dropped off. It needed to not be the entire family, so that the
Hmm.
kids could actually start maturing into having their own space. Like, at public school, they might have a little more freedom.
Hmm.
So we would just meet at, like, the ice skating rink or have a dance. We had, like, a masquerade. We had a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Then one of my friends, she was like, "Let's do a theater. We'll just do a musical." Actually, she wanted to do a musical. And, we never actually ended up doing that, but I felt like that was definitely the Lord was like, "Yeah, you need to do something." So I picked a play off of a website, an inexpensive Three Musketeer parody, and we did a play, and then the kids stayed together, and we had so much fun, and we will be on our 5th play, like, our 5th spring play this year.
Wow.
And, the kids can come and go as seasons happen, and, we just have a blast. And theater, I had absolutely no clue. Magical isn't the right word, but there is something different where everyone can bring their strengths and work on their weaknesses.
Mm.
And, in the homeschool community, there's almost nothing. You might have, like, a co-op group, but my kids did not have a co-op that had a theater group. I did teach art in our co-ops, but, there's even within the public school, there's, like, if you play soccer, you can play, like, the travel team and you're really good, or
Hmm.
you play the rec. You play, like, the rec version of it.
Yeah.
But within theater, it's once you get to a certain age, you go and you audition and you either make it or you don't, and that's a grueling and sometimes very painful process.
Mm.
but there's not like a rec version of the arts. And so that's where I wanted to scoop up, you know, as anybody who wanted to, and you can
Mm.
be, the captain of the football team and still do theater. But that's kind of what one of the beautiful things that I saw happen is that it was a community, it forms a community around a goal where everybody ends up winning because you have
Mm.
this great show at the end and everybody comes and they're all excited. And even if you mess up, I only do comedies. Even if you mess up, it's funny.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so it's okay. And all the kids can bring their hobbies and
Mm-hmm.
kind of integrate them in some way. We've had kids who do, costume and cosplay kind of stuff, and they'll add things, or we'll have an art gallery that way they can showcase their artwork. And so, yeah, that is the shortest version I can give you of
Yeah.
how it came about.
No, I love that so much. And you know what? I totally agree with the fact that there was a lot of artistic kids in our community too, and they needed some sort of outlet. And I loved watching them because they are also part of our sports teams. But it was definitely not their, like they enjoyed being part of the team, they enjoyed the community, but it really wasn't their thing. And then they
Mhm,
got into theater and they shine so brightly, and it's so fun to be able to support them in that too. And then also watch people challenge themselves who
mhm,
maybe are really good at sports, but maybe not so good at theater, and they're still there, they're still showing up, and they get so much benefit from that too. So I
mhm.
loved watching that happen in our community. For you, what are some of the benefits specifically teenagers received from doing something like theater?
Well, any experience like theater, you're working on presentation skills,
Mm.
confidence, all those that are kind of a given. But it's an opportunity to test out uh, different aspects of what goes on to make a play. And it's definitely a body of Christ,
Mm.
test things out kind of opportunity. And I've helped a lot of people decorate, and you have to know what a lot of times what you don't want to then know what you want. And I think if you make a decision and if you try new things in faith, that not only are you going to learn things and grow, but you're going to figure out like where you actually like what is your jam, what's your special sauce, what's
Mhm.
your gold and the things that are unique about you that can be utilized to their full potential within our goal is bringing the gospel to all nations.
Mhm.
So a theater is kind of like a mini church. If you think about like the
Yeah.
typical American church anyway, which I always encourage everybody to think way outside the box with what is ministry. But
Mhm.
it is a very a safe place, hopefully, to be able to try different things and work
Yeah.
on different skills.
Yeah, and then you mentioned like it's the body of almost like a body similar to the body of Christ,
Mhm.
where each one of us brings our own skills in, and if when we're doing that to our full potential, it's like we're helping everyone else achieve
Yeah.
a goal together. And it's a beautiful way of expressing teamwork. I think that's different than you
Mhm.
get from athletics and everything else, because I feel like art is a little bit more intimidating, as in you feel like you're being judged for doing different. I guess like when you're not sure if you're gonna do it right. At least that's my experience. Whenever I try to act, I'm like, oh my, I'm not that good at it, or am I cringe? Like I feel like there's a little bit of that in there too. Um,
So that reminds, or I always tell my kids in art classes or anywhere, anything that is artistic, I say art is only wrong if, and then I make them repeat it back, someone's paying you to do it, which means if someone hires you to do a mural in
mhm,
their baby's bedroom, you could get it wrong.
mhm,
Otherwise, it shouldn't be offensive or sinful, but artwork, it's not wrong, like, that's what I think scares a lot of people, is
yeah,
that it is a community where you're not told you're wrong, and so if it's a community that's not willing to uphold truth and, biblical truth, then that's where things can go wrong really fast.
mhm,
But if it is, as a place where those things are upheld, then we actually get to work with the Lord to develop the creativity and not be afraid of it.
yeah, yeah. And then what gave you like the courage to create a like you said you didn't really grow up doing theater. Like what gave you the courage to start writing plays, and how was that process for you?
I did not know I would write plays. This whole process looking back is so beautiful, that I just, each step was part of the process to get to where I'm at now. And, I'm having a blast because I've done a lot of hard work,
Mhm.
not only just in choosing difficult life experience, things that, um, don't fit the typical easy American life, and just challenges choosing hard things that the Lord asked us to do, and allowing not allowing bitterness or anything like that to set in, but turning them for good. And, just a lot of I have an entrepreneur heart, and I have
Mhm.
started a lot of little businesses, and if you lay it all out, it's this perfect picture of, "Oh, I needed to learn to do this so
Mhm.
that once I got to Mad Society, I'd be ready, and I'd know I'm I'm I can do." I had all the tools. I had all the tools in my tool belt, and then when this came along, it was just like, unbelievable. I'm having so
Yeah.
much fun. So when I went to the homeschool conventions, I went with the handbook curriculum. So it's basically like I hope no one takes this offensively, but it's like a dummies book for starting a theater club. It like has all the paperwork you'd need and like the kind of space you need to get, and it's just like all those things. And that was one of the hardest things I've ever done, is to take like something processes from this, I'm like a right-brained I don't
Yeah,
know if this
yeah.
might even exist, and so, like, I had the handbook. I did the YouTube videos to show people how to make a backdrop and, like, how to have play practices. I've got that. I even have coaching videos, so if someone doesn't wanna lead it, they can just play the coaching videos of me.
Mhm.
And then I went to the homeschool convention, and all anyone wanted was plays and skits. They're like, "Where are your plays?" And I'm like, "I don't have any." But I'd already done all of like, legwork and the foundation, and so then I was like, the Lord was like, "Imagine what theater would have been like in the Garden of Eden, that's what I want you to start creating." And so my plays and my skits and my escape rooms and what we're making now are bundles, so that you could pick, like, a themed bundle for a year of,
Mm.
like, this is our pirate year, and so, like, you could even integrate, like, history and stuff. But I started writing the plays, number 1, because when I bought one, I'd have to fix so many things about it that
Mm.
it would have been easier for me to write something. So now they're all for sale on Teachers Pay Teachers, and that is how people are finding Mad Society.
Mm.
So I'm thankful I had all the boring stuff done, because now skits and plays and
Mm.
things are just like I can't sleep. There's just so many, and I'm having an absolute blast creating it.
Yeah.
So
It's so fun to look back and see how God has prepared you for something. I think my pastor said, and it stuck with my family, that providence is like a Hebrew word. Sometimes you have to read it backwards to understand it, which I loved. And so whenever you look at, your life and you see how many things the Lord has put in your path, you didn't know what they kind of felt maybe a little random, and then all of a sudden they lead to something. You're like, oh, that's what he was doing. I should have just trusted him along the way. Um, so I love that. And then also that you saw the need in the homeschooling community and you stepped up to fill it. I feel like that's the story of every single person I interview that has a curriculum that's making such an impact. As they just, they had these skills and they felt the calling and they did it. So on behalf of the homeschooling community, I just want to say
that
thank you. Thank you for
yeah.
doing it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is a ministry,
Mm-hmm.
and the end goal, is that there would be mad missions. There mad everything. Mad is so fun to say, like, to add to everything, but, I met a curriculum writer at the South Carolina Homeschool Convention, and he is helping integrate his, curriculum in Johannesburg, South Africa. And
Wow.
so we're actually going to go to South Africa in the winter and start a Mad Society.
That's so
So
cool.
I know, we're really
Yeah.
excited. So eventually, I can see Mad Societies taking missions trips where it's like a VBS, where you could
Mm.
go in and do a Mad Camp, or a mini Mad Camp, and come in, and instead of just presenting a show, the kids are part of the show.
Yeah.
And not, I don't want to be I appreciate Vacation Bible School. I appreciate a lot of things about it, but I think that there could be an opportunity and a really like a fresh wind if there was something else that felt like that that could also just bring the gospel to communities that were
Yeah.
hungry and excited for that kind of stuff. So,
No, I love that idea. That's so cool. And the amazing part about doing this, like about homeschooling or like taking your education back, I think, to the family unit is you have like endless opportunity, if that kind of makes sense.
mhm,
You can kind of break the mold and do different things and just allow your creativity to kind of lead you to really cool
right.
places. So I think I keep coming back to my homeschooling community, but that's I never did any theater in high school, so I watched their play, but the way that they actually ended up writing one of their own plays, I think, just because they wanted to. It was so fun for them, and it was so creative. And I went to my public school high school play, which they did a great job. I will definitely give them that. I don't want to sound like they didn't, but the creativity though and the enthusiasm was night and day. And the homeschooling group, my community didn't have that many resources. Like they were kind of just
Right.
working. The mom that ran it, she really didn't know what she was doing. She was just there because she knew that this was something they wanted to do and it was worthwhile. And they put
Mhm.
on a fantastic play.
Yeah.
It was so like entertaining. It was pure
Yeah.
entertainment. And
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah, and the plays in particular that I'm writing, I wrote them for 12 actors. So that
Yeah.
was all you'd need, but it goes up to 51.
Wow.
So there, yeah, there's like a narrator like group that comes in between the acts that you could add, and then there's an opening skit too that you could take or leave.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, it's hard. It's like, where do you even start if you wanna provide this for your kids?
Yeah.
But that's kind of like the handbook where it's like, okay, you give them this, and I know someone who gave their, high school junior this book, and she read it. She actually had a theater camp over the summer all on
Wow.
her own, like, she led it. Her mom didn't do she probably helped her a little bit with the logistics.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's an opportunity too, like, it's leadership opportunities
Hmm.
where usually if you join a team or a sport or something like that, it's more of a participating
Yep.
angle and not quite as much of a collaborative. Like as homeschoolers, you don't get that every day. Like I'm collaborating with people. I'm bumping, like I'm living. You do sort of live together when you're in public school,
Hmm.
So to have those opportunities to develop those things and to be given the opportunity, like I'm going to organize the cast and crew party, or I'm
Yeah.
going to be, they even have the opportunity to be the director of the play. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities with theater. It's
Yeah.
very versatile.
Yeah. And you also have to learn how to deal with conflict, which I'm sure
Hmm.
that arises.
And constructive criticism.
Yes, that's what
Yeah.
I was also gonna mention criticism because I feel like I don't know if you have anything to speak on, like building an environment where like criticism can be taken in like love and trust in that area, like creating that kind of environment in your theater group, which I think would be interesting. But like receiving criticism,
Yeah.
that's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I help out with another math society in the Columbus area, and she does these little peer review sheets,
Mm,
and they can choose to give them to, uh, not you don't have to do it,
yeah.
but and then you can choose who you wanna give it to. So it's there, and of course, as leaders, they do, we have to tell them sometimes to face the audience. But yes, the love sandwiches are what we and it almost has become a joke, but where you do want to be able to take the correction and criticism as a it's underrated because it's like that those are opportunities to actually grow and
Yeah.
change. So
Yeah. And then part of being the body is being like sharpened. And that's a lot in the Bible, like iron sharpens iron.
iron and iron, yep.
Yeah.
It's interesting too because the kids that sort of, they don't have to take it really seriously, but if they are kind of working against, if they're goofing off or if they
Mm,
don't do their best or they're not memorizing their lines, it's in front of other people.
mm,
And so there's the audience has the opportunity to be like and it happens like if you don't put your best, like your best foot, not perfection, but
hmm.
but
Yeah.
show that you're giving it your the appropriate amount of attention, then there's feedback that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I feel like there's a little pressure too. Like, you're going to be out in front of an audience. Like, they're going to be listening to you. You want to kind of do well.
yeah.
At least that's how I think I would be in that situation. So, you talked a bit about the Mad Societies in your area. Like, what has been the response to Mad Society?
Yeah, so there are 5 in the Columbus area, and then, people buy books, and I don't
Hmm.
have, like, a registration, like, process or anything yet.
Yeah.
I I can't even imagine what that would look like.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, like, keep up with what I have going already.
Yeah. Yeah.
But eventually I can see it to be something where, the social media aspect of it is growing,
Hmm.
and, we're about to start doing, like, some TikTok with the Great Homeschool Convention, the lady who
That's
does
awesome.
that, and
Yeah.
so, just helping support other people and find, like, those really simple utilizing technology to be able to help people feel like they can start a club
Hmm. Yeah.
and manage it, and I think that, I just tell people, like, aim small, just aim
Yeah.
super small, and it doesn't have to cost money, like, just let the kids bring their own costumes and order the Captain Hook jacket, and, that's okay, and if the adults can do that, the kids can thrive.
Mm.
And so kinda laying down those, adult micromanaging expectations and just letting it be artwork, which isn't wrong.
Hmm.
Unless someone's paying you to do it. So, those
Yes.
things have to happen, and that artists are the ones that make the biggest forward progress in society with
Hmm.
science, the arts,
Yeah.
just pushing forward, thought processes and breaking free of
Yeah.
things like that. Artists are always at the front of that. So,
Yeah.
yes, so in Columbus, there are 5, and then there are a few, there are more that I know
Hmm.
of in other places. But it's kind of a grassroots, it's like a bit of a church planning kinda
Yeah.
thing where someone else will see what's happening and they're like, "I think I could do that."
Yeah.
And so they do, and I've only actually had the handbook and the curriculum for a year. So this is still, well, it's fresh from other people, it's not for me, but the handbook's actually only been out for a year.
Yeah. Wow. So this already definitely making an impact, and it's only been 1 year. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, I and what keeps me going is what I see developing in the students in the Mad
Mm.
Society I lead, and then the one I help with, and they first of all, we have so much fun, so much fun. I only do comedies, and I only do, like, there's nothing secular, but there's also nothing spiritual, and there's also nothing history. So, they're just purely fun,
Mm.
and, they, the kids have a blast together, and we have soapbox time where you talk about your identity in Christ and the things that God's put in you that you could use in Mad Society, and just testimony after testimony of people say their kids can't get enough. They look forward to it. They didn't have a group and now they have a group,
Mm.
and just their confidence and their friendships that are lasting because my kids that started 5 years ago are already 5 years out of high school and they still have those friendships,
Mm.
and it's absolutely beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, the friendships, I feel like there's just something so special about that. And you were talking earlier about how in public school, like we kind of are, I don't know, living up against each other. Like you're constantly
Yeah,
seeing them all the time. So there's like there's this bond that sometimes we feel like we miss out on as homeschoolers or as unconventional schoolers. So I think
yeah.
having these opportunities, and it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to be anything big and fancy. Like I
Mm.
feel like that's somewhere where we go automatically start comparing ourselves to the public school. Like we don't have the stage like they do. We don't have the costumes. We don't have the prep. Like we can't. And it doesn't, like that vision should shift a little bit. It's also just like about the kids as well. Like what connections are they going to form? And that, like, the stage doesn't really matter in the end.
No, it actually doesn't matter. So when I created it, and as I create the skits and the plays and all that, it's kind of like Little Women in the Attic,
Mm-hmm.
where they
Yeah.
go up there and they produce it, and they probably only show their parents, or maybe they don't even show anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But they're creative. They're creating things, but also it's sort of secretive, like I don't know if you've seen Dead Poet Society, but
Mm-mm.
where they, it's like it's this secret, it's really
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's super fun, and it feels a little like what are they doing? And they're making art and they're being creative, and yeah. So that is the feel that I want it to kind of feel like. Now the shows themselves um, are kind of like a Saturday Night Live for kids. So it's like sketches
Mm-hmm.
and funny stuff, and then there's improv, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
host,
Mm-hmm.
and even the plays sort of feel like that because of how I've incorporated like the MC parts and the narrators parts and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's but of course clean, not Saturday Night Live bad. But where that kind of feel where it's more of a night of entertainment than it is putting on a show.
Mm-hmm.
So not aiming for perfection, but aiming for your best.
Yeah, I love that. And it takes a little bit of the pressure off the parents. Like, that should be our goal too. Like, we're aiming to build a community. We're aiming to give
Yeah.
like an opportunity like this and bring other people together. Like, the whole homeschooling community came together to watch this show with
Yeah.
everyone. And that is also a way to build community.
Mhm.
So no, I am a big fan of theater. I feel like we need it to grow more across the homeschooling community. I feel like your curriculum just gives it a starting point. Like, inertia's
Yeah.
the hardest part. Like, just open the book, have the first meeting, and see how it goes. And
I think I remember what inertia means.
yeah, yeah, just the starting force.
Okay.
Getting past the standing still or like all the fear that surrounded it.
Yeah.
And at least like my family had their first meeting 2 months ago. They loved it. I mean, we had graduates come back to be part of this theater group.
Well, we do too. Like
Yeah,
we'll have people come, the people who have graduated will come to the shows, but they'll also
yeah.
want to come and help and
Hmm.
participate. And yeah, I've heard a quote, and I'm gonna really botch it up, but it's like the dogs of destiny stand or fear stand at the door of destiny. There's something like
Yeah.
that where it's like if you're scared of something, but you feel led to it, there's a really good chance that that might be the best thing that you ever
Yeah.
do.
Hmm.
Because if you can push past that, and we are called to not be afraid.
Hmm.
And so I think it's a good sign that that's something that you're being called to do.
For anyone who's like thinking about doing a theater group or has one, like, what's your best advice?
Aside from purchasing my handbook, honestly, I don't even think that's necessary to just get the ball going. Get
Mm,
a script in your hands and someone else who is a dreamer and wants to help, or
hmm.
maybe they're a dreamer. And, just be like, "We're just gonna do it in June in the backyard." And, like, you don't need microphones, you don't need anything like that. Like, just get something and just someone that thinks like that,
Yeah.
that can see that vision. And so it really kinda takes 2 people, which I write out a process for a coach and a wingman.
Hmm.
And it doesn't really matter, there's typically one that's like the creative, artsy, I mean, whatever, and then the logistics part of it. And so I
Yeah.
do think it's best to have like a two-man, any sports team is going to have at least 2 coaches.
Hmm.
So we actually encourage people to go by coach. I'm Coach Baldwin, and um and to own that title and be like, I'm a coach. Like you could just decide I'm a coach today and I'm going to coach a drama club. And that's all it takes. Like no one's going to come and with a sword and like W. That'd be
Yeah.
great if they did, but just having the courage to get something fun in your hands and then start dreaming
Hmm.
and just each little step, just saying yes to put something on the calendar that helps you stay accountable
Mm.
to okay, we're gonna have an interest meeting and
Yeah.
see who would join or just put something out on your Facebook group, be like, would anyone want to start a theater club? And I think you'd be surprised how quickly they pull together. And that's why within a year, there are already 5 in the Columbus area.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, because if you just put that on your co-op, you'll have a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to be passive participants, but I hope that they're also doing something that I would only be a passive or, be able to support them in. So don't
Hmm.
get frustrated when it's like, well, they're expecting me to lead it. Hopefully they're leading their own ministry and their own things that, you can honor and respect that everyone's kind of got their niche.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I would just start asking people and see what happens.
Yeah. And then I totally agree. I mean, the need or the want for it is so evident. As soon as
Exactly.
anyone really posts anything on the homeschooling page, there's like, yes, we want that, we need that, and I'll do my
Yeah.
part to help to make it a reality.
Well, and people have to keep in mind the opportunities for writing, for
Mm.
directing, for a sound person, like all these kids can do that.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so there are kids that like tech and maybe they can do video of these
Mhm.
and there's so many opportunities to be creative with when you get something like this that just thinking outside the box. Like what if someone crochets and they do like the chainmail costumes for the,
Yeah.
guards and the medieval play or things like that
Mhm.
where just giving creative students a place to show their work because if you play soccer you get to play soccer games if you like if you write I guess you can post your writing somewhere
Yeah,
uh
yeah.
but within the homeschool community even with that I mean people struggle to give their kids those big goals
Mhm.
because it's already built into the public school.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? This actually leads really well into what I was thinking about. Personally, theater involving public school, I always thought about like everything's kind of provided for you, it's already there. And so when we try to approach it as homeschoolers, it's overwhelming because we feel like we have to have everything together.
Mhm.
But then you go back to like, I'm going to pull up Shakespeare, who is
Yeah,
like
yeah, that's my
incredibly well known.
brother.
He hardly had any formal education. He didn't have like a stage in high school. We can do a lot without having everything there. And I think it also teaches people like students for me watching my mom pull so much of her effort and just try new things and show me that like life is what I make of it and not what someone else provide. Like I'm not going to have everything
Mhm.
laid out before me. Sometimes I'm going to have to blaze the trail. Most of the time I'm going to have to do it on my own.
Yeah,
And you can. And I
yeah.
think that having these opportunities as as homeschoolers, yes, we don't have all the resources laid out before us, but there are things that we are learning that we wouldn't learn otherwise. And it's completely possible to do something amazing with that. To close out, why don't you just tell the listeners where they can find all of your information and your books and your plays?
The physical handbook is for sale on Amazon, and then I will be at the Columbus Homeschool Convention, so
Oh, cool.
next April.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only one I'm gonna do next year. But so if people wanna get their hands on it. And then I have a YouTube channel filled with content of how to have a lot of how to make a playbill, how to, make a freestanding backdrop, how to have that first play practice, how to have an art day, how to have a student gallery, just very simple, like people can watch the YouTube videos. I have a website and that has like my bio and it does have all my plays and skits on there that are for sale and creative writing escape rooms and now I'm making bundles,
Mm-hmm.
which would take you to Teachers Pay Teachers, which is where all my digital stuff is for sale right now.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I will link all of the links you just talked about in the show notes. So if you're listening and you want to check it out, which I highly recommend, they're all in the show notes. Yeah.
But then we're gonna do a giveaway. Is that right?
Oh yeah, the giveaway. Oh my goodness. Yes. So,
Okay.
do you wanna go ahead and explain?
So we're gonna give away a level one book. So in level one, it walks you through doing it's basically Math Society is divided into 2 semesters. So you would do a talent show or variety show or a dinner theater the first half,
Mm.
and then a spring play the other half. Because they get really, it's really refreshing to do either something with lots of little acts or something with a big act. It's really refreshing to like cycle through that through the year.
Yeah.
So eventually, I will have complete bundles where people can buy the whole year of content to do it like their co-op or if you want to do it in like a nursing home or something like that you could do that but so then I'm also going to include a full-length play as well, so I'm going to give away if they email you there'll be a
Hmm.
winner that'll get a level one handbook and then the full-length play Sherlock's Caribbean Cruise.
That sounds
So
like so much fun.
someone can have that. So it's a comedy. There are topics that are public domain that you can write about. So not all of mine will be like that.
So,
yeah, if they email you, then
mhm.
you'll send someone the handbook in a play.
Yep. So just my email as is also in the show notes. If you email me with your name, I will randomly draw someone, and they will be the lucky winners, and I'll send you over your handbook. So that's gonna be fun. I've never done a giveaway before, and I've always wanted to. So this is like come true, which is so fun. So yes, be sure to do that because this is a great way to get a really good community builder in your homeschooling and just add something to the high school experience. I think that a lot of teenagers miss. So yeah, this is great. Thank you so much. I'm so excited for the giveaway. Thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your story with us and for making all of these amazing content for the homeschooling community. I can't wait to see how it keeps going and how it keeps growing. I think that's going to be amazing.
Well, and may your parents' community be blessed as well as
Oh,
they
thank you. Yeah.
grow, and blessings on anyone that starts one. That
Yeah.
it would be something that would further the confidence and the gold that the Lord has put in all of us.
Yep. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you would like to participate in the giveaway, please email me your name to fearlesslydifferent.pod@gmail.com by next Friday, which is January 17th at midnight. So just send me a quick email and I will randomly draw someone, and then I will contact the winner, and I will need your address as well to be able to mail you the handbook. So make sure to participate in that. I think it's a great opportunity to get a really good resource for your homeschooling community. And if you'd like to find any more information on Mad Society, all the links we talked about in the show are in the show notes below. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow so you never miss another episode. I will see you all next week, and as always, continue to stay fearlessly different.